Everyone, happy 4th of July. We're here at our weekly webinar, Stopping the Violence in America. Today is July 3rd, 2024. I want to welcome you. Today we have going to play a previous speaker and video of that. And we thought that we will bring him back because he's very significant, being that he was a previous NFL player, and he has done some extraordinary work in the community, at-risk community with at-risk young people, in order to play an instrumental role in stopping the violence. And so what I'm going to ask EJ to do is roll the cameras, and his topic is mentoring with a purpose, one of the routes to reducing violence, and especially in those at-risk communities. Thank you all for coming, and afterwards we will have just a brief discussion and your feedback on the extraordinary work that he has done and is continuously doing, and your viewpoint. Thank you. Welcome.
Give you a little bit about Frank Murphy. He's an NFL player, president. He's gotten a presidential lifetime achievement recipient, a national motivator speaker, and an author. From the NFL draft pick to founder and president of Mentoring with Purpose. So his topic will be Mentoring with Purpose, a route to reducing violence. Frank Murphy is a true paragon of what a second chance reality is. Battling incredible obstacles, tenacity and determination prevailed in his passion to help others realize their potential and become impactful leaders in their communities. Frank Murphy is an author of The Man Behind the Helmet, God of the Second Chance, as well as the writer and director of an educational stage play, The Man Behind the Helmet, the life story of Frank Murphy. He founded Put Down Your Fake ID conference and created the Frank Murphy online life skills curriculum program for youth in grade schools to upper level professionals. Frank is the first professional athlete to produce and write his own educational stage play, derived from his book, and created a digital life skill program. The stage play is offered in person and virtually. He's not only give insights of challenges, but also offers firsthand solutions. Frank is also writing and producing his first motion picture, so he's really on the ball. Frank's life story journey from childhood to adult, as he overcame the struggles of growing up in at-risk inner neighborhoods, from guns to selling drugs to jail. It seems the odds were stacked against Frank while he faced the possibility of spending his life behind bars. After giving the second chance through the NFL Super Bowl coach, Tony Dungy, Frank instantly goes from drugs, guns, and jail to a star athlete and successful NFL player, concluding a successful football career, creating countless awards such as the American, All-State, and Player of the Year award. Frank didn't stop there. Since starting his foundation in 2009, Murphy consistently poured into his community, supporting empowerment programs for the youth. His efforts in the community are instrumental. He has been awarded the JTEP Heroes Award, as well as the Heroes Award of NHL, Tampa Bay Lightning. Recognizing him for his noble efforts to make a positive impact on the community, Murphy received the keys to the city of Callahan, Florida, for his positive impression on the youth. and has even been a recipient of the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award presented by the 44th former President Barack Obama for his community work and influence on the next generation, just to name a few. God bless you, my brother Frank. It was wonderful to listen to you as the other NFL player. What was his name?
The boxer, and then you talking about the other player.
He was moderating. He did a great job. Yeah, and you did you did a great job as well. So without any further ado, everybody, let's welcome our dear brother Frank Murphy and hear his hopes and strengths and his achievements toward our at-risk communities and how he has impacted them. Welcome, brother.
Thank you again, Pastor Oliver. I appreciate this opportunity. And I always say, you know, when it's an opportunity about motivating, intriguing, and empowering our next generation, I'm all in. Jack is the young man named that was on stage with us that was hosting.
Jack Brewer.
Jack Brewer, yeah. Great guy, of course, great friend of mine, played the NFL as well. But one thing that I talk about and what I feel deep in my heart, I make sure that people understand I don't really want you to know me all as that NFL player, the guy that's accomplished all those accolades. I'm thankful, but I want you to know me as a guy that never gave up, because that's why I'm here today. I'm only here today because I didn't quit. I didn't give up. And I have constantly spoke all around different cities, different states, even the world to be that exact. But I never gave up. Everybody gonna have an opportunity to give up eventually, and you're gonna have to make that choice. Will you give up? And one thing I had to do before I started doing what I do now, I had to empty my cup. Because sometimes your cup can be full of speculation, bad opinions, bad experiences, scars, things that you went through, things that people said about you, lied on you. You're going to have to learn, if you're looking to be successful, you're going to have to learn how to empty that cup and refill it with great wisdom and knowledge and put the right mentors around you so you can see the light of day. Some of the things that Mentor on Purpose Charity has been able to do is, of course, something that impact communities by large when it comes to putting programs and curriculum. We have digital curriculum, we have manual curriculums, life skill curriculums, we have books, of course, and our goal is to put that in every community, neighborhood that thirsts after knowledge and thirsts after help. And we want to show them that you got a second chance here. I know for myself, I had a second chance. And that's what thrives me and keeps me going and make me want to be that mentor. We want to create new role models to enter the sports arena as leaders, not followers. And we do that through Mentor on Purpose Charity. When I found myself taking that fake ID, that's what I call it. It's a picture of you, but everything in there lie. I took that fake ID and I began to run the streets of Jacksonville, Florida. I began to sell those drugs and get with the wrong crowd and begin to carry firearms, thinking that that's what I had to do because my society showed me nothing but that. My community showed me nothing but that. And thank God for the very, very low percentage that didn't fall into that. We know that percentage is very low. It's hard to walk around neighborhoods when all you see is sadness, anger, depression, killing, robbing, people getting shot. I mean, imagine that at an age of 11 and 12. And those are things that I encountered throughout my childhood, was able to see and experience. So I turned to the streets and I found myself incarcerated at 15. And when I went into that jail cell and I smelt the stinking socks and see the paint peeling off the wall, I knew this wasn't the place for me. But when I got in that cell, I began to realize that this is real. And one thing that I think our next generation, they don't know how real it is until it gets real. I think our next generation is looking up to the wrong role models. They imitating the wrong examples. I know that I did. And when I found myself behind those bars, I began to realize that my life could be possibly over. My dreams of me playing professional football and being this superstar athlete that I always envisioned was going down the drain. And I never forget, I went into the rec. We got invited to rec. You know, you go to rec, they get you outside, you know, play a little rec. And I'll never forget that this guard told me, he brought this man in to watch us play. He was like, man, these some talented kids. And when it was over, they kept me back and they said, hey, we want to talk to you, Frank. And this coach came out, this is in the jail. And he said, listen, I don't know what you in here for, but if you ever get out, you got a full scholarship at our high school, private school. You are a tremendous athlete, and I think you can make it to the NFL or the NBA. That was the first time somebody told me I could do anything. So from that day forward, no matter how much time I was facing, I was in my cell doing push-ups, sit-ups, squatting the mat, and people was like, man, why are you working out here? Why are you doing all this stuff? I say, man, because I'm going to the NFL. They start laughing. They say, man, you know what you had? You in jail. You ain't going to no NFL. And I say, no, I'm going to the NFL. Nothing took those words that was said to me by that coach / officer. And that's what started it all. That right there, that moment. So it matters what you say to our next generation. It matters what you don't say to our next generation. It matters if we're motivating them or we're just entertaining them. I go to impact. Wherever I go, I look to impact and not entertain. I found myself going to trial and I won trial. I was able to go back to school and I did 1 year in school and won all these awards, All-American in basketball, football, track, all in 1 year. I didn't have the grades to go to a big D1 school like Florida State, but I had offers from schools like that. I had to go to junior college, and being incarcerated, I didn't have the grade. I went to junior college and like I told people, it's something called residue. And that residue stayed with me and, you know, I couldn't even see it. And one thing I tell people, you can never discount the residue that our next generation have on them that may have came from their father's sin or mistakes or their mother's hurt. Because those things are scars that last forever and you have to learn how to deal with those. I have friends that, thank God, my mama didn't experience a lot of this stuff, and my dad, I had a praying mama and I had a hardworking dad. But I was friends with guys that they would have to watch their mom have sex to get money for drugs. They had to sit there and watch that. They had to watch their mom do drugs. They had to watch their mom get beat up because she couldn't pay for the drugs at times. What type of anger is in that child at 11, 12, and 13? What type of resentment is in that child? So I begin to understand we have to do programs that really touch the whole home. When I found myself going to the junior college, I got there and that residue followed me. I got there, I started right back up selling drugs right on college, something that I was doing basically my young life. And I started selling drugs on campus. I carried a firearm. I got shot at on campus, just doing all the things, shootouts, and I got kicked out. I'll never forget the coach. The coach called my mom and said, he got to go. We took a chance on him with his background. We took a chance on him being on probation. And my mama started to cry. She said, if he come back home, he'll be dead. Will you please do your best to find him another place? And the coach was like, I don't know if I can recommend him anywhere. He's a talent, but his talent don't outlast his character. And He said, I think I got one place I can try. So he tried a college in Kansas. And I went on to Kansas Junior College, and that coaching staff took a chance on me, but once again, residue followed. I didn't know how to break the residue. I didn't even know I had residue on me from being incarcerated, my community, my neighborhood, all that stuff that I was doing. I didn't know I had a problem. I was in college talking about shooting and doing all this when you're supposed to be in college talking about getting your degree. But because of that residue, I didn't know nothing was wrong. But when I went to this second junior college, I got into it again. I'm talking about God of second chances. I got incarcerated again for a parent shootout, and also started selling drugs again right there. And I went to trial and won trial. You got to understand that's my second trial that I was found not guilty. And I told the coach, can I come back? You got to remember, during this time waiting on trial, the coaches wouldn't even talk to me. I mean, I would speak, they would just put their head down. I said, could I work out today, coach? He wouldn't even say that back. The president said, hey, we got to let you stay in school, but you'll never touch this football field again because you haven't been found guilty, so we got to let you get your education. She said, you got a 0 point something. She said, can you try to focus at least on your work? I picked my 0.3 up to a 3.5 grade point average. And I walked the halls every day. And one day my life changed forever. I walk this hall every day because when people see me, it's a smaller town, so they know from the news who I was, so they would not even say anything to me or speak. And I walked this hall and I heard a voice. That voice said, hey, young man. And I turned around, it was a janitor. And she said, I don't know who you are, but you walk this way every time, and I see you, and it's a light following you over your head. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, God told me to tell you that you're going to change the world and you're going to change this football team in no time. And I started to laugh and say, lady, I go to trial in like 2 weeks and it looks pretty bad for me. I say, the coaches don't talk to me. I'm not even on the team. They don't even want me back near the team. I say, so I don't know what you're talking about. She said, no, I'm telling you what God told me to tell you, that you're going to change the world and you're going to change this team in no time. She said, let me ask you something. Will you go to church with me? I say, man, you sound like my mama. I'm good. She's like, no, please. Will you go to church with me? Just hang with me. I say, well, I ain't got nobody else, so I might as well. Nobody else like me. And she mentored me. A woman decided to mentor me when every coach had an opportunity, but they didn't see the diamond shining at that time. People would bypass me, had a chance to mentor me. They didn't see the diamond shining. She didn't need to see a diamond shining. She took me under her wing. She mentored me and talked about what I was going through. She told me that this is only a phase. You have to think like this. Nobody ever sat down and talked to me and prayed with me and showed me that. Of course, my mama did an excellent job, but you know, after a while, you don't really listen to your mom and your dad no more. So they did an excellent job, but it was so far stretched. It had to be other people involved. It takes a village. And I went to trial and I won. After that trial, I went back to the coaches and said, hey, could I play now? You know, hey, I got found not guilty. They was like, well, we already got an all-star running back. We really don't need no help. They really wanted me to leave. My GPA was up to 3.5. I did all that stuff. And I went home for the summer. And they said, well, you can come back and try out for the team, but we already got our star player, the position you play. I went home for the summer, and I could have quit, you guys. I could have gave in to what that coach said. When I got back to Jacksonville, Florida, I had a test. You know, there I was around all the big dope dealers in my family. All the people see me come back home, friends. And I never worked before. I never had a job. I never had to have a job. I remember getting a job at Winn-Dixie Warehouse and working there. And right after I worked there, I would print out this Florida State workout book. And I would copy everything in that workout book. After work, I would go to the track and go to the weight room. And I'm here to tell you guys, I didn't have nobody with me. And I did that every day to the point I almost died. I cramped up from the top of my head down to my toes because that's how bad I wanted it. And I remember also every time that I had a friend call me late at night to go do something, I would take that as a slap in the face. And when I get off the phone with him, I would go to the track and run. That's how dedicated I was to seeing change in my life. I get a call one day when the summer about over. It's the coach. He say, hey, I'm thinking he called and telling me don't worry about coming back. He called me and say, hey, have you been working out? I say, yeah, I've been working out every day. And he said, well, I just want to tell you that you may have an opportunity because we had to kick our star running back out of school. He got caught stealing from the president's daughter, so they kicked him out of school. And I say, man, but here's the example that I tell people. What if I'd have gave up? What if I wouldn't have, what if I wouldn't have been working out? What if I'd have just said, oh, okay, I didn't take it like an obligation. I took it like an opportunity. I got back to school. I led that team to the national championship. I won MVP of the championship. I got inducted to the Junior College Hall of Fame. I was All-American, #1 recruit in the nation that year, just like Miss Cheryl, the janitor, told me. So when you tell me our generation and our kids that's committing these violence, when you say they don't need a mentor, they do, but the mentor may not look like you think they should look. This is the reason for this story. It was a janitor that changed my life. And I think so many times we look for all these titles and we have to get out of titles and get into purpose. I had a janitor that changed my life, broke all those records, God shining over me, the light over me. I'm changing the world as we speak right now, all type of awards from different presidents. And I'm not saying this to impress you. I'm saying this to impress upon you that if God can do it for me, he can do it for you. He can do it for your kids. He can do it for your neighborhood. And that's why Mentor on Purpose Charity was created, so we can go into the neighborhoods and overflood it with all of these programs, life skill programs that I didn't have. I realized that the life skills was the bridge to my success, and I had no life skills. How to handle anger, how to control my emotions, how to say I'm sorry, those things, how to know my purpose. You know what I mean? How to handle disappointment. Those are life skills that I didn't have, and I understood clearly that I had to do something to be the bridge to what our community was going through. So that's what I've been creating. Our programs are in the prisons now, on the tablets. Our programs are it's been in schools, colleges. I have done programs with NFL teams, for the NFL teams like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So where we at now is Mentor on Purpose was created first out of my, not my anger. And this is what I want to tell all mentors. You can't create nothing out of anger. You got to create it out of anguish. Anguish is different than anger. Anger means it's a burning feeling that you want to get back. You want to hurt something. You want to go so hard till somebody else feel it. Anguish is something, a burning desire within yourself, that if I can help somebody because I see this person hurt and I see that person hurting, and that anguish is burning in me, that if I don't help, I don't think nobody else will. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to help. And I had that anguish burning desire in me to give back. And I tell people that when you meet the next generation, it don't have a color, it don't have a gender on it. Everybody, and I tell people about the guns in their society, the violence in their society. Every gun has a spirit on it. That same gun that kids carry makes them feel powerful. But when they use it, that gun turns right around and say, why did you do that? And start condemning them. Because it's a spirit on every gun to make you feel a certain way. And when you feel a certain way, you'll do a certain thing. I'm talking from experience. So until we get the foundation back in place, we won't see a lot of change, you guys. And what I mean by the foundation, until we get God back in place. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but when I say I've been there, done that, I have the resume to alert you on what I've done and alert you on how it works, until we get a foundation of good people back in place that understands that it's a word called grace. And we have to really start forgiving ourselves and forgiving others that have done things not only to us, but to people we know. Until we get in place where we putting down that fake ID, which is a picture of you, but everything on there a lie, and pick up that real ID, until we get into the right position. See, a lot of us are out of position. We in a position that feels good and that's comfortable that we want to be in, but we're not in a mentor position that God wants us in. There's a lot of people out of position because they're chasing fame and titles. And number one, they're chasing money. I've been blessed to not chase money. I've been blessed not to think about chasing being famous, you know what I'm saying? But being impactful. And you know, I wake up every day and I encourage everybody to do this, because before I got drafted, my past got brought back up. I broke all these records at Kansas State, went on to Kansas State. I broke records, ran a 4.21, 42-inch vertical, and the scouts was just all over me. And I never forget, they call us to the front so they can look at you. All 32 teams looking at you, see if you know what tattoos you got, what, you know, if you're injured. And this guy went before me and they called him up, and I'm like, man, they just praising him. And I'm like, man, I look better than him. I can't wait till they call me up. I'm ripped, I'm ready. And they called me up next and they wasn't saying nothing. They just looking up and down. And I'm like, what are they looking at? They was looking at my resume, my record. And one thing I'll tell people, when you get past that, don't bring your past into your presence and destroy your future. Because those scouts looked at me, and one of the scouts say, I don't think we can draft you with this type of record. My God, you got found not guilty, but it was all involving guns and shootings. And my God, you know, even back then, they wasn't even accepting guys that got felonies and things of that nature. It was very rare. And my head dropped. And I say, oh God, I did all this hard work. I changed my life. It's because they were still looking at my past. And I did this drill. I call it the mirror drill. And I tell our youth to do it every day. The mirror drill is a place you can see yourself, hear yourself. And I began to talk to myself when I got home back to Jacksonville, Florida. My mom said, you ready for the draft, son? I say, Mom, they don't really like me like that. I already can tell. She say, boy, shut that up. She said, what God got for you, no man can take it away, and you will be drafted. And I went in the restroom and started talking to myself. I said, I worked too hard. God got my back. He's never going to leave me. I lift weights too hard. I'm going to get drafted. See, the mirror is not just to reflect what you see, it's to correct what you see as well. I got in that mirror and started correcting some things about myself, my image. I started correcting some things about that I used to do that I can't do no more. So I started looking at myself and doing self-evaluation. And that's one thing in our programs. We ask our youth and those who've been out there in the streets that's trying to convert over and be mentors and be right and do right and act right and talk right and live right. We tell them it has to be self-evaluation. So we do a lot of self-care things throughout our curriculums as well. Sure enough, I got drafted in the 6th round. Me and Tom Brady came out the same year. And I remember telling, they say, Frank, how did you do this? I say, man, you know, of course it's the grace of God, but I had to put myself in the right position for success. And I never forget the day that I got a call from Peyton Manning, one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game in the NFL. And he said, meet me over here, man. I want to throw a little bit. You in shape? I just want to get my arm right. And I said, yeah, I'm free. I went over there. He said, man, I'm going to have another quarterback with me. Do you mind? I say, no, I'm in shape. I get there, it's him and Tom Brady, two of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. And I say, Lord, I get the catch for these two guys that just at a high school, just me and them. And I noticed something about Peyton Manning. Peyton said, Frank, if you get in this position right here, you're going to get the ball every time. I ain't say 2 yards to the right or to the left or too far back or too close. I say be in that position and I'll get you the ball every time. Every time I was in the right position, y'all, that ball was right on time, right there. Tom was a little different. Tom said, just be there. I'll just get it there. I'll shoot it there. And learning that from Peyton Manning, I say, man, a lot of us, we want the ball, but we're in the wrong position. And our blessings just keep falling because we're not in the right position because we're listening to the wrong quarterback. And until you get in a position to listen to the right quarterback, you won't be catching those blessings. You won't be putting yourself in position to be successful. And when I learned to do that, based off that little example, I seen my life start to change. I didn't know what character and integrity was until I got to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I got in that locker room and, I was like, man, I watched Coach Dungy and I say, dog, there's something about this guy. Like, it's just something about him. I don't know what it is. And I remember that one game we played so bad. And I say, man, Coach Dungy finna cuss us out. He all nice in public, but I bet he finna come in here and just go off on us. And when we got in the locker room, he was the same way. He was talking the same way. He didn't cuss us out. He said, you got to play better or I'm going to take you out. It was no cussing or something different than what you've seen on TV. And I began to say, man, I want that. I want to be respected like that guy. So I used to watch Coach Dungy and I learned from him how to have character and integrity. Then I watched Derrick Brooks in the locker room. Hall of Fame linebacker, went to Florida State, one of the best linebackers to play the game. I watched him and how he handled situations. These guys didn't even know I was watching them. Then I had a pastor by the name of Pastor Greg Pope in Tampa, Florida, Revealing Truth Ministry. He passed away some years back, and he was my best friend. I watched how he lived. So what I'm telling y'all is, until we able to put something around our community, in our community for them to imitate and watch, it's gonna be a struggle until we give them something to hold on to, such as God, because it's nothing else that they can hold on to. I'm telling you from my experience, that's the only reason I made it, because I truly believe that God loved me and he got an opportunity for me. And I never forget, my mom told me in Jacksonville when I was in prison, in jail, and they offered me 3 years to take this, and I already been there almost a year. So I was like, Mom, I'm gonna take this because I only do 1 more year and I'll be out. She said, no. She said, God told me that, no, you don't take no time. You finna get out. God got a plan for your life. I was like, man. She said, I see you traveling the world. And I'm like, listen, Mama, I'm the one in here doing this time. And I never forget, I went back to my cell and I said, God, tired of you talking to my mama. When you gonna talk to me? Like, you showing her all this, but I'm the one in here doing this time. I don't want to lose trial, because if I lose trial, I'm getting 10 to 15 years, max. And it was just like a day later, you guys, I had a dream of how the trial was gonna go. And I woke up and I'm like, whoa, okay. I called my lawyer and I said, hey, we going to trial. He said, you sure? I said, yes. I felt like God was talking to me and showing me in that dream how the trial would be. And guess what, you guys? I went to trial, it happened just like the dream. So I'm not here to tell you a bunch of fluff. I'm here to tell you that God is real and that he works. I'm here to tell you not only I experienced it for myself, this is not just me experiencing for myself. I have seen others and helped others. I helped some of the worst killers, drug dealers, and drug addicts get in a different position. And if we're gonna do this, it's gonna have to be done together. I'm open from, I wanted to tell my story. I'm open to any questions or just anything that I can do or give to any listener. I just thought the best thing to do was to share my heart and share with you what I've been through and what I experienced firsthand. So you're not getting secondhand information. You're getting a brother that's been delivered, set free, and I'm still growing. So definitely, I'm open to any questions about any situation that may motivate you to be a better you.
All right, thank you for that extraordinary presentation. Amen. Yeah, I want to thank him. Just want to open it up. Let me just for a any remarks that people may have, or any points they'd like to bring out. I would like just to say that the power of the word to the minds and the souls of those who you think that are at risk or incapable of even hearing something positive, what he's and acting and changing. And the first thing that came to my mind when he was talking about the power of a mentor's voice, and he said, you know, when someone said something kind to me, that was the first time someone ever gave me encouragement. I've never heard that before. And so when we look at that, we say, well, there's so many people out there that never heard a kind, encouraging word. So now I can begin to start pinpointing the origin, if you will, or the lack of coaching, the lack of embrace that was needed to prevent behaviors that are unbecoming. But another thing is that I thought about was the power of what we call the alternative voice. The alternative voice is not out there. And I think he kept reiterating the point that our young people are not hearing the right voices. You know, they're not hearing the right voices. And then what does it take for us as a collective community to be responsible for getting that right voice out there? Because that right voice, as he has shared with his life, creates miracles, because God breathed the breath of life in everyone. And so that means that we all have the potential of goodness if it's tapped into properly. And so really, I'm really deeply moved by his presentation. I've heard it before, but to hear it a second time is even, for me, even more impactful. Bruce, welcome.
Unmute. Thank you so much for that presentation. I have 3 sons that all won national championships in college football. And so that side of it, sadly, I have a cousin that went to Kansas State and flunked out, but we won't talk about that. But what I am just, you talked before about passion and anguish. My first job after college was teaching in the inner city in Chicago. And I remember this one boy, his name was Anthony Love. Anthony was I had 30 students, and Anthony was the only one that had both birth parents at home. And I just came out of a conference call with Congressman Danny Davis. And Danny's focus is how you can help ex-offenders get back into society. And it was a great call, and there were many ideas, but my feeling is that the number one way to stop violence in the city is through 2-parent families. And that's the one thing. I mean, I'm a real smart guy, right? I got a lot of degrees, but I don't know how to do that. You know, it's certainly not something that can happen overnight or in the next week or next month or next year. But, you know, I have one younger brother. My parents stayed married for 68 years, and it wasn't easy for them with 2 boys, especially 2 teenagers in the house. So any reflection you have on that is, how can we get the movement to go from single parent families to 2-parent families? How can that happen? Because I really believe, you know, our theology believes absolutely in a Heavenly Father and a Heavenly Mother, and we see them as true parents. So how in the world can we begin to move to families with two parents? Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce. I think we love this cliche. It takes a village to raise a child. The village is not exclusive to that racial demographics that live in that community. For me, the village is the whole of America. And I think that's what we're talking about. The whole of America is the village. As you know my father. But when I was a kid, I grew up in a two-parent home. Okay. But when I was a kid, I would watch the news all the time with my parents. Actually, it was a tradition that we had to eat and watch the news, 6 o'clock news with the family, you know? One of the things my father would always reiterate, Bruce, we need to see your face, not your knee. Okay. So one of the things that my father used to always say, he used to say it all the time, constantly. He said, because they would always on the news give these statistics about black boys and black girls, community at risk, and that particular demographics grow up with in a single parent home, and especially without a father in a home. So he would take that, always say, well, they say that 60% are not, but they don't do a barrage of documentaries of the 40% to do. Now, if you did, just say hypothetically, they start doing the 40% every day. So the 60% who are at risk are watching the 40%, which they're not introducing. I think his message was many times they're not introduced to an alternative understanding. So I just go back to, we have to look at the whole picture and see what is the root cause, especially in these communities, that people have come into this whole tradition of being single, growing up in single parent homes. I don't think it's just the people. I think there's how the village and maybe past experience have impacted them. But I thought about that. I've always thought about that, Bruce. And that was, what if we did they do extreme documentaries on all the sickness and dysfunction of these single parent homes, but they don't do a documentary. You know, when you do documentaries like that, it becomes subliminal, don't you think? Right. So the 40% that do, nobody's uplifting them. No one is doing special documentary or programs or what makes them and what has created them to be such a stable family that the other kids can watch and say, no, I don't have to be. There are others out there that do have a father. Maybe I want to be like that. Daryl, Reverend Franklin, how are you? Welcome. That's just part, Bruce. I'm just saying that's just something to look at. Reverend Franklin, how are you? You're muted.
Oh, how about now?
Got you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Reverend Oliver. Oh my goodness. This was very, very inspiring on so many levels. I mean, I can take the rest of the time. And as far as expressing so many inspirations, it's like the 4th of July just hit me, you know. and but I mean, what this illustrates is that the word of God, helps us to realize that we're all children of God. And how are we children of God is that we resemble God in this respect, that this man, this really great man illustrated. God spoke the universe into existence. He spoke the world into existence. And this is what we have the capacity to do. We have the capacity to be able to speak life into people. And it really shows the substantial illustration of Jesus's words when he said that we are in this world, but we're not of this world. So by him maintaining that vision based on what that one person told him, that he is going to change the world, he just held on to that. And that gave him the power to avoid the world's concepts of who they portrayed him to be. And that power of the spoken word that resonated deep in his soul, he kept cultivating that. Just like you tend a garden, and that's what he did. He kept putting fertilizer on that seed that was sown by that spoken word. And that gave him the power to be able to grow beyond the soil that surrounded him, that was filled with oppression, difficult, anguish, despair. And he was able to germinate and to be able to rise above that soil and blossom into a person that served the world. And so this is very, very powerful, very meaningful. And then I guess you can say deep in my mind and my heart, I'm praying that God will be able to have this program, Reverend Oliver, in which you are so kindly serving as the master of ceremonies in this program. I pray to God deep in my heart that this program should be on television, to be able to really give people hope about what is really going on, that the really righteous people who have overcome adverse situations and how they have gone into the direction of prominence and serve humanity in a very profound way. So this was profound and it's amazing on all levels. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's incredible. Actually, when I'm listening to it, it actually brings tears to my heart as well, because I'm reminded that through these testimonies that it just squashes and just shatters all preconceived ideas, and the box that humanity puts these kids in, that there is hope. And so, yeah, you're correct. It just shatters all of that. It's, oh, wow, this is incredible. And this is why I believe God is giving these testimonies, so that we can see that there's so much great and wonderful potential out there in all of these communities that has not really been tapped into 100%. Yeah. All right, Bruce, take care. Thank you for coming. But yeah, so I think that's incredible. And, God spoke to him. And also, I think the whole notion that is prevailing here is the power of the word, the power of the alternative voice. Are those kids hearing alternative voices out there? No. Like he said, they're hearing the wrong voice. And they're hearing it every single day of their life. They're seeing stuff that is heinous on a daily basis. He says, how does that stop or prevent? Or what he's really trying to say is that, they're almost validated in their pain, validated in their resentment that's plugged up. There's no one to explain why is this happening, in which he was also, I think, was saying in some communities almost like a norm. But yet again, you are getting these negative reactions from it, negative results from it, negative behaviors are still emanating from what they think is the norm. So yeah, we have a great responsibility. Thank you for sharing those words. And like I said, just listening to him just reminds me, wow, there's a lot of kids out there. If we really had the right voice out there, we can change them, and they can become what they call it, excellent, viable citizens of this nation in their communities. They have the potential. Let's put it that way.
Untapped resources, man.
Yeah.
Just think, we tap into that as you were just saying just now. Oh man, it's over. I mean, America, talking about America being great again, this is really underscore the incredible hidden potential of this nation and how it can empower the world. As we do this and embrace that and tap into those kids and just tell them those inspirational words to empower them towards excellence, it'll be over. It'll be over.
Reverend Franklin, always. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was this last weekend. I was in your hometown, Cincinnati.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Jeffrey. Yes. Welcome. A question?
Oh yeah, hi there. No, I thought the testimony was great. I think there's a couple things that we can learn from that on either side. I think the janitor he had the compassion and he had the foresight to see the potential in Frank. And so, you can't judge a book by its cover. And on the receiving end, I think Frank was very humble and was teachable, and he had the work ethic. And that kind of reminded me of Tom Brady, who he spoke about. On paper, Tom Brady he's probably the slowest quarterback in movement, but nobody could see his work ethic, and his determination and his willingness to learn. And yeah, so look at that. He won 7 Super Bowls. And so I think if we ourselves have the humility and are moldable and teachable, God can do great things to us. And as leaders and mentors, if we have the compassion and we see people who have that work ethic and have that optimism in their eyes, then this someone worth reaching out to. I thought, that was my inspiration when I heard his testimony. Thanks, Oliver, Zachary.
Yeah, thank you, Jeffrey. Nakama. One of the things that struck me too in his course to get to that point, to find a place of humility. Another thing I thought he brought into place was the concept of being in the right position. I thought that was really powerful, and it's true, and many times he was in the right position, to get to your point, Jeffrey, was because he had kept relapsing, because he said he didn't know better. So he relapsed to the point where he had nowhere else to go other than to be submitted to, this is what your fate is, that's it. Coaches don't want to speak with you. You have a court case. He did try, got his grade point up. He did a great job with that. But he was just at, where God sometimes has to bring us to, put our face in the mud, and we have nowhere else to go. And then he can speak to you. So, he was in the right position because God put him in that right position. Let go. You have no more avenues. Now you can hear, right? So he heard from the janitor. He was able to hear from the janitor. And the janitor was a woman. That was his other point. You never know who can be your mentor.
That's right.
So yeah, that anybody else would like to share, because he made several points about the power of being in a right position. Anyone else as we come to our close? Anybody else? Melissa? Because I can see their face. William, Reverend Stoner. Anybody else have any remarks as we come to the close?
Yeah.
Yes, Reverend Stoner.
Well, actually, Melissa just held her hand up.
Oh, okay, Melissa. I'm going to get you both before we go. Yes, Melissa. You unmute for us, please.
There you go. Sorry about that. Yeah, just God can work through prayers, and this lady janitor had received this inspiration because, a lot of times the janitor is like watching all the kids and, it's kind of like an angel, they can see what the give and take action between all the people, all the kids, and they can see the oh, that person's really trying hard and just needs prayer. And I think that's how God worked through that situation and gave her revelation of what God spoke, and was determined to get her message to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But it's our responsibility to receive it and understand it and pray over it.
Somebody has their, I can hear.
Anyway,
yeah, you're correct. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Oh, that's it.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And it's true. William, Reverend Stoner.
Thank you so very much for bringing up the very best. You can never rewatch these too many times. I'm grateful to the glory and the majesty of God, because it's amazing how it can come forth in the most unlikely places, most unlikely situations. Watching or listening of Frank and how he overcame and went through so many hardships reminds me of, gosh, when I was in high school, saw an editorial cartoon of the concept of freedom bursting forth when the Russians were invading Czechoslovakia, and they were trying to practice democracy in a communist country, and the Soviets overtook them. But this editorial cartoon was showing this flower cracking out of concrete, or like a solid rock or something. In other words, coming forth in the most impossible situation. And the same was true from what I heard Frank describe. Externally, on the surface, he was destined for failure, for continued demise, because he kept doing the things he shouldn't do. But I think he had really good ancestry. He may not have described that, but the fact that his mother knew, she didn't have to remind herself. She absolutely knew. And also the janitor, probably very spirit-led lady, could see the presence of God in him. So I think as we become mentors and following his advice, if we can help others, we have to be spirit-led. We have to allow God to enlighten us as to who has that capability, who is most prepared, and to try to assist those who are most prepared. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that as some in a community who are in those difficult situations break through and they start to have good experiences and can begin to show by example, look, I used to be like this, but if you try, if you invest yourself and commit yourself, this is how you can break through. I think others in that same environment can become empowered, enlightened by watching others of their own kind break through. So I'm just really grateful for these kind of testimonies, and I just hope that they can happen more often and more for there's so many really good people out there who have yet to be touched yet.
Yeah,
We
so
have to go,
true.
we have to go find them.
You have to go find them. You know, Bill, you reminded me that she did said she is spirit led. He did say that she was watching him, and every time he walks down the hall, she saw a light behind him, a light something over him, or something like that. That's it. Yeah, God was really working because God wanted this to be a testimony for the rest of his potential children. I want to thank everyone for coming on, and we'll see you next week. Happy 4th of July. Thanks you, Bill, for your comments, and Jeffrey and Daryl and Melissa and all those who are always listening, and those who are out there and live streaming who are listening as well. And those who will listen, John, see you. And that this particular segment of the is a reminder that God is working, and God is no respecter of person. He sees the potential in all, and he knows that there is potential in all. And therefore we have a critical role in being that alternative voice. Sometimes we have to be the mentor to the mentor in order to make that sustainable and measurable difference in our community. God bless you, and happy 4th of July, everyone.
Thank you. Happy 4th.
Thank you. Happy
job,
4th of
Zach.
July,
Thank you,
everybody.
Reverend Oliver.
Yes.
God bless. Good program.
Nice to see everybody again.
Thank you.
Just go back a second. Yeah, for 3 minutes. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Have a great
Take
day,
care.
everybody.
Thank you, EJ.
Happy
God
birthday.
Have a
bless.
great day.